Warden Zixthera had seen every species the galaxy had to offer pass through the quantum-locked gates of Fortress Nihil. Fourth-act berserkers with their acid blood and bone spurs, crystalline shardlings who could phase through matter at will. Even a few rogue AI constructs whose digital consciousness had been hard-coded into biomechanical shells. None had ever escaped. None had even tried after the first week. The fortress hung in the void between three dead stars, its graviton-reinforced walls capable of containing a small singularity. The cells were pocket dimensions, each one a separate reality bubble where the laws of physics bent to the warden's will. Temperature, pressure, time dilation, all variables under her control. It was perfect. It was inescapable. Until the humans sent them Marcus Webb. What's his crime? Zixthera asked, studying the datapad with her 4 eyes while her tentacles unconsciously coiled with unease. The human stood in the processing chamber, hands cuffed behind his back with quantum restraints, looking almost bored. Theft, replied Deputy Warden Krelthan. He stole a hegemony dreadnought. A what now? One of her eyes swiveled to focus on her subordinate. A single human stole a ship with a crew of 3,000? Apparently he convinced them it was a training exercise, walked onto the bridge, told them he was conducting a security audit and had them transfer command codes to him. By the time they realized what happened, he'd already sold the ship to a scrap dealer in the Outer Rim. Zixthera's chromatophores flickered amber with amusement. Humans were known for their deception skills, but this seemed excessive even for them. What's his classification? Standard humanoid. No genetic modifications, no cybernetic implants. Base-level human. Krelthan paused, consulting his own datapad. Though there is one note here. His psychological profile lists him as having something called ADHD and chronic boredom. Irrelevant. Put him in cell block Omega. Maximum security. The cell was a cube of pure emptiness, 20 meters on each side, suspended in a pocket of space-time where even thought moved sluggishly. The walls were programmed matter, harder than neutronium, capable of adapting to counter any escape attempt. The only furnishing was a sleep platform and a nutrient dispenser. No windows, no entertainment, no stimulation of any kind. Most prisoners went catatonic within days. Marcus Webb looked around his new home and grinned. "Hey, Warden Lady," he called out, somehow knowing exactly where the observation sensors were. "This is pretty neat. Is this like a pocket dimension thing? I read about theoretical applications in quantum mechanics, but I never thought anyone had actually cracked stable space-time manipulation. The power requirements alone must be incredible." Zixthera watched from her office, her tentacles now writhing with irritation. Most prisoners screamed, begged, or fell into despair. This human was treating his imprisonment like a field trip to a science museum. Day 2 brought the first surprise. Marcus had somehow convinced the nutrient dispenser to produce variations in his food, not just different flavors. That was impossible since the machine only contained basic protein paste, but actual different textures and compositions. "How is he doing that?" Zixthera demanded. "We're investigating," Krelthan replied, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Our technicians say it's impossible. The dispensers aren't programmed for variety. Then reprogram them, make them dispense only the basic nutrients." Day 3. Marcus had constructed what appeared to be a small sculpture from his food rations, somehow hardening the protein paste into a permanent structure. He'd also started exercising, but not in any pattern the computer recognized. His movements seemed random, chaotic, almost like he was dancing. Day 5. The sculpture had grown into an elaborate castle, complete with tiny figures. Marcus had learned to modulate his voice to create echoes off the walls, effectively giving himself someone to talk to. He'd also figured out how to make the floor slightly warmer in some spots, creating a primitive heating system. "This is impossible," Zixthera muttered, watching the feeds. "The cell systems aren't designed for any of this." Day 7. Marcus had started teaching himself what appeared to be a completely new language, using the echoes of his voice as conversation partners. He'd also begun leaving small marks on the walls, not scratches, which would be impossible given their construction, but somehow altering their very molecular structure through repeated contact. Day 10. The first systems alarm. "Warden." Krelthan's voice was tight with panic. "The gravitational field around cell block Omega is fluctuating. It's minute, but it's there." Zixthera rushed to the monitoring station. The readings were impossible. The human was somehow affecting space-time itself, not through any technology or special ability, but through pure, relentless curiosity and activity. He's not trying to escape, she realized with growing horror. He's just existing, fully, completely, without any regard for the laws of physics or the limitations we've imposed. By day 12, Marcus had turned his cell into a workshop, a gymnasium, a classroom, and an art studio all at once. He'd created a complex routine that involved physical exercise, mental puzzles he'd invented, artistic expression using modified food rations, and lengthy conversations with imaginary companions who seemed to have distinct personalities. The pocket dimension was beginning to strain under the weight of his humanity. He's treating impossible limitations like interesting puzzles, Zixthera observed. Every constraint we put on him, he views as a creative challenge rather than a barrier. Day 14. The first structural breach. Not in the walls, those remained impenetrable, but reality itself was developing hairline cracks around the edges of Marcus's cell. His refusal to be diminished by his circumstances was literally causing space-time to protest. "Warden," Krelthin reported, "he's asked for a library terminal." "Absolutely not. He says he's gotten bored with only having the fundamental forces of the universe to play with, and he'd like to learn about quantum archaeology." Day 16. Marcus had somehow convinced his nutrient dispenser that it was actually a replicator, despite the technological impossibility. He was now producing elaborate meals, art supplies, and what appeared to be crude musical instruments. Day 18. 3 more cells in the block began showing reality distortions. The other prisoners, who had been catatonic for years, were showing signs of awakening. Somehow, Marcus's irrepressible humanity was contagious, spreading through the quantum-locked barriers as if hope itself had become a viral infection. He has to go, Zixthera decided. Today. She found Marcus in his cell, teaching advanced calculus to a sock puppet he'd somehow created. The walls around him flickered between dimensions, showing glimpses of forests, cities, and starfields, as if reality couldn't decide what this space was supposed to be anymore. "Marcus Webb," she announced through the intercom. "You're being released." He looked up, genuinely surprised. "Oh, hi, are you the warden? I was hoping we'd get to meet. I've been really impressed with the engineering here. The pocket dimension tech is fascinating, but I think there might be some efficiency improvements you could make to the power systems. You're free to go, now." "But I haven't finished my sentence yet. I mean, sure, being here has been educational and all, but I committed a crime. I should serve my time." Zixthera's tentacles writhed in exasperation. "The sentence is commuted. You're pardoned. Just leave, please." As Marcus walked out of the fortress, chatting cheerfully with the guards about the local gravitational anomalies, Zixthera updated his file. Species human, crime, theft, status released due to structural incompatibility with containment. Note: humans cannot be imprisoned. They can only be given new environments to make their own. Behind him, Fortress Nile slowly began repairing itself, its pocket dimensions stabilizing, its impossible walls returning to their proper impossibility. But in the quantum foam that underlies all reality, tiny persistent fluctuations remained, places where the universe still remembered what it felt like to have a truly free spirit, refused to be contained. The galaxy's most secure prison had learned something that day. You can lock up a human's body, but their humanity will always find a way to turn even the smallest space into something larger than the cosmos itself.